it's been a hot minute since I've closely paid attention to the chaos that is E3. This year is different, considering the direction I'm taking the channel, and man, did I pick a good year to soak in all of the chaos of E3 and Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest. Before we get into all the chaos, before we get into the games that grabbed my attention, and whoo, Lord, there was a lot, I'd like to remind you all you can find me streaming on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and you can find new videos here every Thursday. Sometimes. Let's get into the 5 biggest winners and 5 biggest losers at E3. First of all, we are going to start with some honorable and dishonorable mentions because I simply cannot be bothered to condense literally all of E3 into an arbitrary list. Only some of it. Let's start off with the dishonorable mentions. Meh. Kicking off Summer Games Fest with a bang, apparently, we have a Smite and Stranger Things collab of all things? Okay, I guess. Props to Hi-Res Studios for getting that deal done, but this is definitely a head-scratcher to me. Another head-scratcher is Blizzard sending Overwatch's game director to show off 2 new skins for Overwatch 2. Why? Why even show up if that's all you've got? Like, the skins look nice, but man, especially with Overwatch 2 being a ways out. The final dishonorable mention goes to...
Drumroll.
To Square Chaos. The only thing saving Square Enix from being in the worst 5 with their wet fart of a conference is the fact that Guardians of the Galaxy looks like a lot of fun, and man, I hope it's good. Please be good. Some of the gameplay did look a little rough, and not being able to play all of the characters seems like an odd choice, but I'm still cautiously optimistic for it. The other saving grace for Square was giving us the best meme of E3.
Looks like chaos has been waiting for us.
The Life is Strange remastered, not remastered, gave me some Skyrim remastered flashbacks. Oh my god, look at that water. And even though I'm excited for Guardians, that 20-minute segment followed by the Avengers was an odd scheduling choice. Unfortunately, I do think we're going to be seeing some of these developers reeling from the side effects of COVID and the last year going into the future. Some of these conferences definitely prove that. Now, on to some honorable mentions. I only have 3. The first honorable mention goes to Rare with Sea of Thieves and their Pirates of the Caribbean DLC. This looks great, it looks like a ton of fun, and even though I really haven't put that much time into Sea of Thieves other than making my character look absolutely beautiful, I'm certainly playing through this with the buds. The second honorable mention goes to Netflix for showing us a glimpse at the Cuphead show. Cuphead will always have a special place in my heart. Like, you know that freaking huge-ass potato that you face, like one of the first bosses in the game? I'm like cosplaying that. And hopefully, the DLC comes out next year. I need it in my life. It was also cool to see that Wayne Brady was casted to be King Dice. I personally can't wait to see how they pull off the Chappelle Show tribute.
Is Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a bitch?
Nintendo is barely an honorable mention, bringing heavy hitters like Worms Rumble. Worms Rumble. They did say that they're actually working on Metroid 4. Now, I don't know if that means that they drew one piece of concept art right before this Nintendo Direct, or if we're creeping closer to seeing something other than a title screen. We did get to see a new 2D Metroid game coming out in October, which absolutely looks fantastic. There was also a new Breath of the Wild trailer, which looks familiar. I'll preface this by saying that I didn't play the first one. I know. But it looks like they're just expanding onto the same island. Plus, shooting for a 2022 release sounds like a 2023 release to me, but we'll see about that. Ubisoft. It was really a toss-up between Ubi and Square for this spot. Ubi should have brought more memes. Straight up. Ubisoft kicked off their conference with a rather lengthy segment centered around Rainbow Six Extraction, which was not the original name. I guess they changed the title after seeing that Quarantine as a live service makes for some pretty lackluster gameplay. The fact that this game can be solo or co-op is interesting, and honestly, a tactical PvE game like this seems pretty sweet. It may be too much of a niche market, but that remains to be seen. Riders Republic also looks pretty cool, and Ubisoft continues to reinforce Rocksmith as an excellent guitar teaching tool with the addition of Rocksmith Plus. This is going to be a subscription model as opposed to their prior DLC model, and honestly, it sounds more accessible than ever. The Season Pass of Far Cry 6 looks super interesting too, and that has my interest more than the actual game does, which is saying a lot because Giancarlo Esposito's inclusion in Far Cry 6 had caught my attention already. However, for me, that's where the good stops. The direction Assassin's Creed has gone in doesn't really do it for me. I mean, God, do you guys just ever miss den defense?
Make your stand there. Make your stand there.
Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
The Avatar game, though? I don't know about that one. It feels like it's 10 years too late, and I personally didn't enjoy the movie or the universe then.
That's Jesus. Their damn village happens to be resting on the richest unobtainium deposit within 200 clicks in any direction. I mean, look at all that cheddar.
A first-person action adventure seems like an interesting choice for the game, and I'd be more than happy to be wrong about this one. For now, though, I know nothing about it, and it doesn't interest me based on the lack of information that I have. Mario and Rabbids doesn't move the needle for me, and at the time of writing this, I'm realizing how similar Ubisoft and Square's conferences were, both front-loading their conferences with a game that looks like some fun, but not for everyone, and closing out their conferences with nice memes, but some nicer than others.
Chaos.
Woo! Fifth best for me has to be Devolver Digital's conference. I want whatever they're having.
Are granted direct access to purchase anything in our constantly growing collection of video games and video game related junk for free. Well, not the purchases. They're not free. That would be insane.
Was this whole showing over the top? Absolutely. Was it fun? Absolutely. These people love what they do, and it's obvious that they put just as much love and effort into their games as they do with these ridiculous skits. They even put their conference on a videotape and sold it for $1,000 before the conference even started. The good news is that all of the profits went to the Scratch Foundation, which helps children by giving them free coding lessons. All quirks of the conference aside, they brought the heat with the games. Trek to Yomi looked great. Wizard with a Gun doesn't really seem like my thing, but the art style looks really awesome. Demon Throttle being a tangible Switch exclusive through Special Reserve games is really cool, and the game looks dope. Phantom Abyss looks like an absolute blast, and I have no idea what the hell is happening with Inscription, but I need it in my life. Finally, Death's Door is one of the games that I'm most excited about that I got to see this weekend. The trailer that was shown during the Day of the Devs just absolutely sold me on it. The story, the aesthetic, the combat looks really slick, and I can't wait to play it. This one comes out on July 20th. Koch Media. What the hell was that? Like 2 hours of Zoom calls, some gameplay from Scars Above that looked okay, and what looked like a piece of Payday 3 concept art. This next complaint was a common one for me personally throughout all of these conferences. Is there a time and a place for developer commentary and interviews? Yes, 100%. Sometimes dev insight is some of the most interesting stuff we can learn about when it comes to video games. Was this the place? In a 2-hour block? I don't know, man. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but the crowd that gets off on Zoom calls isn't at E3. They're at CNN.
You thought that you had turned off your camera?
Correct. I thought that I had turned off the Zoom call.
I honestly don't know if they had enough game announcements here to fill a 30-minute block, let alone 2 hours. This felt like they put a YOLO bid on a 2-hour block, got it, and were like, oh crap, what do we do now?
My God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm! Wait. Everybody calm down!
Hopefully, if they have this much time next year, they can fill it up with the games that they didn't show us this year. So yeah, EA absolutely killed it with the Battlefield 2042 reveal.
Watch out! We need to get away from the storm!
I was only a little hyped after the first trailer because it didn't really show us anything. But the gameplay reveal pegged my hype meter. I didn't like the idea of specialists initially, but it looks more like a niche version of the classes that we had in previous iterations of Battlefield, so I think that's fine. 128 players is going to be insane, and it's great that EA is finally giving us Anthem's Cataclysm event. I love the gameplay of Battlefield 1. And I enjoyed 3 and 4, so I'm looking forward to this one. However, with how EA optimizes their games on PC, I don't know if my PC will run it without exploding.
You will try.
Oh, come on.
Gearbox's conference was another example of, wait, why are we watching this? We followed Randy around for 20 minutes not showing us anything on the set of the Borderlands movie, and we saw the same Tiny Tina trailer that we saw at Summer Games Fest. I'm honestly surprised that they didn't at least go in depth on this one. I'm not a big Borderlands guy, mainly because the humor just does not land for me.
You should have seen your face. You were like, oh, my powers.
But the lack of anything other than the same trailer we already saw is a huge bummer for the Borderlands fans out there. In another surprising decision, GODFALL not only had a spot in the conference, but is also coming to PS4. There was just nothing noteworthy here. Thanks for wasting our time, Gearbox.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, I know this is kind of cheating, but there were so many indie games that caught my attention, and this is my way of giving them as much attention as possible. There was just an incredible amount of indie games that totally killed it with their first impressions. Enough so that I think I'm going to make a video of the indie games that I'm most excited about, but Death's Door, Unbound, Sable, and Harold Halibut. I mean, look at the animation style on this one.
We are in fact building every single thing you see in the game in the real world. We build sets and puppets and then 3D scan everything. We're then able to use motion capturing to create lifelike animations for a huge cast of characters.
We also had Somerville, Inscription, Unbeatable, and Replaced leave us wanting more. I feel like that if you look past the lack of big AAA announcements and look at the vast amount of indie games, that you can walk away from this E3 at least somewhat satisfied. You can see the love that has been poured into all of these different projects, and this is definitely the year that I'm diving down into the indie game rabbit hole.
That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad.
It's a good thing that Xbox and Bethesda had a great showing with their conference, because most everything that E3 had to offer aside from them and the indie games I was just raving about was less than stellar.
The Razer GAN charger is just $179.99.
I get that the Entertainment Software Association is in a tough spot. Jeff Keighley proved with the Summer Games Fest that at least this year, with everything being online, E3 could be condensed down into one day. Some of these developers and publishers were struggling to fill up their time slots with game reveals. You got Coke over here for 2 hours. Oh my god, I still can't believe it was 2 hours. When in comparison, Microsoft and Bethesda crammed all of their game reveals into 1 hour. As I said earlier, these interviews and insights are good content when there are a plethora of game reveals to accompany them, not when they're the only content available. A good chunk of the main content was stuff that you would have to go hunting for in years past. If everything continues to open up in the US enough so that there can be an E3 next year, I think it's make or break for E3. Sony hasn't been there for years now, Nintendo does their direct stream, and companies like Microsoft just prove that they can do their own mega reveals. Their success next year is 100% hinging on how badly people want to experience E3 in person. I've still never been to E3, and I would love to go at least once. We'll just have to see how many more E3s we get.
Woo!
Jeff Keighley has slowly been building his own gaming empire for a while now, and this year is no different. Summer Games Fest on Twitch was one hell of a way to kick off E3, and it wasn't even a part of E3. Not only did he get the jump on E3 by getting to announce a bunch of games, but he brought back the Keighley Among Us mask.
The mask is back.
In all seriousness, he got to absolutely dunk on E3 by getting to reveal frickin' Elden Ring. This madman showed E3 how it's done with a blitz of game information in around 2 hours. This event wasn't perfect, and it included some obligatory musical acts, but that's fine. We've certainly seen worse.
Don't tell them I'm hiding.
The man knows we want games, and by God, he gave us games. So great job, Jeff, and I can't wait to see what Summer Games Fest brings us next year. There was no lack of presents larger than Sony's, as Xbox and Bethesda were bludgeoning us with game after game, release after release, and a mini fridge that will probably be easier to obtain than a PlayStation 5. This was Sony's third year of skipping E3, and with it all being online, you could definitely tell they weren't there. Because they weren't. I'm surprised that they didn't hop on board with Keighley and do an exclusive Sony-only segment during Summer Games Fest, because good lord. Not having a counter to Microsoft's uppercuts was 100% not the play. I understand that they had just done a state of play centered around Horizon Forbidden West not that long ago. That was pretty great, and I'm really looking forward to that game. But gameplay from even one of your flagship games isn't enough of a counter for what Xbox brought to the table. I personally don't think them skipping E3 is as big of a deal for them as it is for the ESA, especially when people can actually attend E3 in person again. But I think they whiffed pretty damn hard by not having anything to counter Microsoft this weekend.
I'm really proud of you.
Talk about walking in and putting your balls on the table, huh? Microsoft kicked down the door by showing us that Starfield actually exists and giving us a release date, and immediately followed that up with Stalker 2. I don't know what this game is, but I need to play it. The lightning effects in it were just, amazing. Back 4 Blood isn't normally my thing, but the PvP for this actually looks like a ton of fun. 12 minutes looks intriguing. Party Animals finally got a release year? I'm super excited to type a few back with the buds and play this. Then, the Chief made his appearance. The campaign trailer left me in shambles, and the multiplayer trailer looked pretty great too. The information they gave us the following day helped reinforce that opinion as well. With non-expiring season passes, a less memey looking grapple, and multiplayer being free to play, I'm a lot more optimistic than I was after last year's reveal. I hope they retcon the absolute hell out of Halo 5, because I still have no idea why they went the direction they did with the story.
What the man?
I thought that the multiplayer in Halo 5 felt pretty good considering all the tools at your disposal, and I loved Breakout. So if they can find ways to somehow improve on that, Halo could be in pretty good shape come this fall. We got one of the best trailers that I've ever seen with Outer Worlds 2.
Something must break the serenity. Will this creature be in the game? No. Say goodbye to it forever.
Forza looked great, and I've never really been that big of a fan of streetcar racing, but this looks like a lot of fun, and it's beautiful. Jeez. Redfall made me aware of how badly I need to slay some vampires with my friends, and we even got a trailer for A Plague Tale Requiem. I needed to decompress after this conference. Microsoft has come a long way in a few years.
Your reaction to 360 backward compatibility has energized the team even more. For the team and me, that wasn't good enough. We wanted more. Will mean a bigger console. But again, we wanted more.
Not only did they kill it with the game announcements, but most of these games will be on Game Pass when they launch. Xbox is finally gaining traction after Sony has been dumpstering them. And the winners with this competition heating up is the consumers. You love to see it. So that was E3. Given this past year and all of the challenges that are inherent with game development, it's understandable why some of these developers didn't really have anything to show. Looking at you, Capcom.
What?
In all honesty though, I think it's really impressive we got anything, let alone all the good stuff that we did. As I said before, there were enough indie games that really grabbed my attention that I'll be making another video on that. This E3 was like an album from your favorite band that overall is kind of average, but the good songs are really, really good. There was definitely some strong showings from E3 this year, but it may be remembered more for the chaos than anything else. I hope you all enjoyed this one. This was my first year trying to soak up all of the E3 I possibly could, and there's some stuff I wish I missed, but it comes with the territory. If you need more of my nonsense, I live stream on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and we've got some pretty fun stuff coming up that you won't want to miss. Much love, everyone, and stay safe out there. Peace out, everybody.
What?
Yeah, that's the thing.
What?
I have it. Andy has it in the back. Oh, I fell off.
Oh no.
I got bumped off with Relic. Rest in pepperoni.
What a fucking well.